good, YouTube? Welcome back to another Vizzy Inks video. The last video, if you haven't, go check that out. I talked about me finally getting my spot, revealing the big surprise. Basically, I got my tattoo studio. Bookings are open. You can book with me. You can follow the Instagrams and all of that good stuff. You know, everything's posted on it. In today's video, we're going to be going over different shading techniques, different effects that you're trying to accomplish when trying to do different types of shading. This is going to be another, you're gonna see me now, see me at the end of the video, and then it's gonna be majority of the video is going to be the overhead shots of me tattooing fake skin. We're going to go over, like I said, different techniques, different strategies, different ways you can use your machine, all of that good stuff. So what I'll do is I'll start with the pen techniques first, so you can get familiar with how you can use the same techniques that you use with the pen, so that when you get your tattoo machine or your tattoo pen, or whichever thing you want to use, it'll become easier and it kind of be like a muscle memory type of thing. The only difference is it's going to be a needle, but it's still the same type of technique that you can still apply while using your tattoo machine. I'll save the next video for applying both things that I've taught so far in terms of the basic lines and the shading, and we'll do it a whole piece together. This is gonna be very basic. Like, you really are not gonna need much materials for this. Even if you don't have your tattoo machines yet, you don't need all of that. I'll show you how to do it with a pen. You can use pencils, a mechanical pencil, regular pencils. The materials doesn't matter. I don't want you guys to think that you can't follow along and that you guys can't learn anything just because you don't have the equipment yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different ways to practice. So we'll go through that first. We'll do these on paper, and then the second half of the video is going to be dedicated to the actual tattoo machine, the inks, and everything like that. If you prefer to just go straight to the tattoo part of the video where we go over the shading, I'm going to leave timestamp, like chapters, and you could just skip to that part. If you want to see the whole video, by all means, this is for you. I'm here for you. So the next clip that you're going to see is going to be the overhead shots of us getting started with the different techniques. So here we go. Okay guys, so I have my paper here, and we're going to start off by using just a regular pencil. You can use any type of pencil. It doesn't really matter because the techniques is really what matters most. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just draw a line so that you guys can see the difference between the pencil and the pen. So I'm just gonna, so we're gonna focus on this one side first, and I'm just gonna label it pencil. When it comes to tattooing, there are 5 different types of shading. There's stipple shading, and I'm just labeling them so that you guys understand what each one is and what they look like. The stipple, you have whip, then we have pendulum, and we have brush, and last we have what they consider gray wash. All right, we're gonna go over each one. So the first one we're gonna go over is stipple shading. Stipple shading uses a single needle to create precise dots. Basically this, right? This is the effect that you're gonna get. This is not what you do necessarily in order to get this effect, but when we get to the tattoo part of the video, you'll see what I mean. But this is the effect, or the way that it's gonna look. This often is used for small or medium tattoos, more so the fine line tattoos, to get the little bit of shading but not too much, or with tattoos with a lot of details, or like I said, like fine line, small, medium tattoos. And it requires a steady hand in order to maintain these type of dots. What that means is steady and consistent hand motions. You're either doing motion like this consistently with the tattoo machine. Some people do fast motion. Whichever motion that you choose to do, it has to be consistent. So it can't be start this way and then I'm gonna switch here midway and then go back. It has to be consistent throughout. So stipple shading, this is what that effect will look like. So next is whip shading. Whip shading involves gradually moving the tattoo tool in the upward motion while applying ink. which creates a gradient kind of effect. Let's say this is the starting point to where, you know, the shading will be, or even here. Whip shading is like this. A consistent motion going up and you're gradually just making your way to where it's will look like a gradient. It doesn't look like it now because I'm using a pencil, but when we get to the tattoo part of the video, you'll understand. You're starting at a certain starting point and you're whipping the opposite direction. So if I'm starting from the bottom position, I'm whipping upwards. If I'm at the up position, I'm going to be whipping downwards, as such. And this goes for either direction, whether it's diagonal, you will go that way. And if it was from diagonal this way, that way. The only thing that you need to know about whipping is that you're whipping in the opposite direction that you're starting with. So that's what a whip shading will consist of. Next on the list, we have pendulum shading. Pendulum shading involves a swinging of the tattoo needle back and forth, applying more ink in the center. Basically what that means is this. That's the motion that the tattoo would be doing. More ink will be hitting the center because it's similar to the whip shading, where majority of your pressure is going to be in the middle, because on the outer skirts it's going to be lighter. But pendulum shading is literally just the back and forth. If you're mimicking using a tattoo machine, remember you put your middle finger underneath where the tip of the tattoo machine will be. Your pinky and your ring finger are your support. Your pointer finger and your thumb are your guides. And basically that's the motion if you will want to practice for the pendulum shading. Okay, so next we have brush shading, which is similar to pendulum, but it's not the exact same thing. It uses the same motion, but with lighter pressure on the skin. Pendulum is a bit, you're putting a lot of pressure to get that darkness, right? With a brush shading, it's literally light. Think of brush as a feather or a paintbrush. You're using light strokes in order to create a light gradient effect, or just a light effect in general, which is typically used for portraits, maybe the background, more so in clouds you see, so stuff like that. Lastly, we have gray wash. This just involves diluting the black from the darkest points to the lightest points. Usually it involves 6 cups. Some people use 4. It really just depends on your preference. All right, so when it comes to gray wash, the amount of ink that is used for each one, you would have this one filled to 100%. Your second one will be at around 75%. Sorry, I'm writing kind of wonky just because how my arm is with the camera recording. Your third one would be 50%. And the last 3 are gonna be like your lightest. So this one would be either 25%, or some people do 10 drops. This one would be like literally like 10%, or typically 7 drops. And then this one would be like literally probably 5%, which is equivalent to probably 1 drop, maybe 2 or 3, depending on your preference. The rest of this will be filled with distilled water. The reason that they do 6, because you have your darker points and then you have your lighter points. darker, lighter. So within this, essentially what this will look like in terms of gray washing, you have your 100% is usually your darkest points here, right? You go from 100 to your 75%, which is not as dark. Then you hit your 50, which is not as dark, but it's dark enough. And you start to hit that 25, and then your 10, and then your 5, until essentially you hit a gradient. This is what a gray wash shading would look like, essentially. But it's not the same as, you know, how I just did this that easily. You would be dipping your ink, and you have to use water in order to rinse the ink out to then use the other types of, you know, inks to create this type of effect, which is typical for portraits, black and gray realism, usually clouds, or any type of shading that has different values. This is what that'll be useful for. This is everything done with the pencil. I'm going to do the same thing in pen, and just, that part's gonna be sped up because I already broke it down for you here. I'm gonna use the same technique with the pen, just so you can see the difference. Here I have the pencil and pen. Here is the difference between the two. Same concept with both, same strategies used. The main thing I want you guys to focus on when using these two type of tools is your hand motion. The only thing in terms of the stipple effect, that's probably going to be the hardest thing to understand in terms of hand motion. But I would say practice doing consistent, like even though you have this here, practice above it, doing that, different consistent hand motions or movements with your hand, such as that. You'll see in the next clip what I mean by that. The whip shading motion for your hand, I want you to focus on is that. Okay, the pendulum, again, that's this motion. Same thing with the brush, just a little bit lighter, softer. The gray wash is not necessarily a hand motion, but you would use all of these techniques in order to accomplish what type of, you know, gradiency you're looking for in terms of a gray wash. These are the two material tools that I used in order to do this example. Fairly easy, very inexpensive. Anybody can do this. I would like to see what you guys come up with, and let me know if this helps you. The next clip that you're gonna see is going to be the fake skin and the tattooing. Okay guys, so I labeled this stuff the same way that I did, the same format as the papers that we practiced on. I have the tattoo machine here. So what I'm gonna do is open up the round mag. So notice how the needles are a little bit kind of like different shaped. Like it's not all aligned the same way. It's a little bit staggered. A round mag does that. It's gonna be round around here. So just want to show you what that looks like in terms of the needle. So what we're gonna do is put it in our machine, twist till you hear the click, boom, and it should be sticking out like that. We're gonna start with the stipple shading. The stipple shading is gonna look like that. There's a bunch of dots. The reason why they say it's better to use a fine line is because then you don't have all of these little dots that look like it's a big clump, but it's okay. Whip shading is heavier at the bottom that is dark because that's where we're hitting the most parts the hardest. and whipping up, and it goes into that like gradient type of fading effect that you see there. Next, we have our pendulum. Again, this is not the best fake skin, so it's just what I got. But yeah, so that's the pendulum. Drastically different from the whip, you can see. Next, we're gonna do the brush. We have the different types of the shading techniques. So the stipple will leave kind of this dot effect. The whip would leave a similar to like a gradient kind of effect, where it's being heavily dark towards the bottom or the starting point. Pendulum, the back and forth to kind of get that even toned shading going on. And the brush, same technique, same motion, just a little bit lighter of the touch, so you can see the difference between the two, that the pendulum is darker, the brush stroke is a little bit lighter, and that's just more so for like soft touch-ups and portraits or faces, usually for like younger children if you're doing those type of portraits. The darker stuff more so for like older folks where harsh shadows coming in, that's when you can use the pendulum. Brush more so for the lighter. Whip shading, you can use that more so for like the cloud effects, filling in different elements, maybe a little bit of smoke or fire or stuff like that, or to create flow. Stipple more so with flowers, I see fine line stuff. But yeah, this is what it looks like with a 5 round mag. So now we're gonna do the 5 round liner and see the difference between the two. Okay, this is what we ended up with. So in terms of your needles, it really just depends on the look that you're going for. So for the round mag, the stipple is a little bit more faint, but you will get more of a stipple effect from a round liner, which is typically what you're supposed to use to get a stipple effect anyways. So if you're going for this type of look, I would say use a liner. If you're looking for this, which I don't really know what kind of designs would involve that type of shading in terms of a round mag. I mean, you just look at the two and use your best judgment and see which one you would use. In terms of stipple shading, this is more so, like we said earlier in the video, this is more often used for small and medium tattoos with lots of details, small details, or fine line tattoos. I've seen these a lot with flowers. I'll put different examples across the screen here, but yeah, that's the effects of the stipple shading. The whip shading, same thing. Like I could see more of this being used for maybe some leaves in a flower or something like that. This I can see being used, like we said earlier, within clouds, stuff like that. I'll put examples on the screen, but these are the difference between the two. I like how the round mag came out better than the whipping. I like the round line better for stippling. Pendulum, I like this one better, but I can also see how this can be used in certain things, not just for fine line or small details, but actual, you know, pieces. Some people just have different types of styles and designs, and this is kind of becoming more popular. I guess you would say dottism. This is kind of becoming a more popular style within the tattoo industry, but I still will prefer like a round mag. In terms of brush, this one looks better, and I think I would go with this one more, but for like just lighter, small hits to the skin where you're not traumatizing the skin too bad. But other than that, these are what the two different types of needle cartridges would look like when it comes to these type of shading. Yeah, I mean, there's different ways and to use and there's different techniques for each one, which we can dive into in another video. But I just want to let you guys know what the basics are and how to properly use your hand movements and different ways of using your machine in order to get these types of effects. So this is all that I have for you guys for this video. The next clip that you're going to see is going to be the outro, and I'll see you at the outro. Okay, so that's all that I have for you guys today in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment of anything that really stood out to you the most, something new that you learned, maybe something that you're looking forward to learning in the next video, all of that. If you are not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you hit that bell notification so that you are notified every time that I post, so you're not missing anything. Make sure to follow the social medias. All of the tags will be here, listed down here. If you made it this far in the video, I want you to put the pencil and paper emoji. Feel me? So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys are actually gaining knowledge and are learning something, and that I'm teaching you something new. Listen, this is just a journey, and I'm here to, show you exactly what we got going on. Make sure to stay tuned, because I have more videos coming out. I have more bangers on the way. Also, I would love to see some of the progress that you guys are making. So if you have did any of the techniques, on whether it was on the paper with the pen or a pencil, or on a fake skin with the tattoo machine, I would love to see you guys work. Yeah, feel free to DM me. Even if you have questions or you want to let me know anything, feel free to DM me on Instagram. If you're looking to book, everything that you would need to know is going to be on my Instagram page, along with all of my policies. But yeah, that's all that I have for you in this video, and I will catch you in the next video.